This man, suffering from an eye disease, went to the dentist and ended up having his tooth pulled. In a magical world, everyone's neck didn't have a head, but rather, a mouth. Or to put it another way, their heads were simply large mouths, which made the profession of dentist highly popular in this world. One evening, the dentist had just finished pulling the last patient's tooth when he received a phone call from his wife. It was cold and raining outside, so he quickly packed up his tools and prepared to head home. What he didn't know was that a special patient was rushing toward the clinic at that very moment. Passers-by were stunned when they saw him, because instead of a mouth on his neck, he had an eye. The dentist was equally shocked when he stepped outside, having never seen such a condition. He asked the patient if he needed help, and the patient pointed to his eye. The two entered the clinic, and the boy took out his identification from his bag. He then removed his hat to show the dentist the inflamed area. The spot was red and swollen, and the dentist was immediately horrified, covering his mouth, unsure whether to perform the surgery. But the boy clasped his hands together and begged him to help. Seeing the boy suffering from pain, the dentist couldn't bear it and finally agreed to proceed. He instructed the boy to lie on the surgical chair and ran into his office to look up similar cases in his medical books. But when he flipped through the pages, he found that all the books were about mouths, and none of them mentioned eyes. Meanwhile, the boy, growing impatient in the operating room, decided to try pulling the eye out himself with pliers. Just as the dentist returned, he saw this and quickly stopped him, reassuring him that he would handle it properly. Soon, the surgery was complete. The dentist removed his blood-stained gloves and advised the boy to keep the surgical site clean and hygienic. However, no matter how much he insisted, the boy didn't respond. Panicking, the dentist rushed over to check, only to discover that the boy no longer had a pulse. Next to him, in the tray, lay a perfectly intact eye. It was then that the dentist realized he had used the wrong treatment method. Since everyone's head was a mouth, the dentist assumed that the boy's eye was a tumor growing from his mouth, which he thought was the source of the illness. So, he treated the eye as if it were a tooth and pulled it out. The eye, however, was the patient's head. The dentist had mistakenly believed he was pulling a tooth, but in reality, he had removed the head of the patient. Naturally, the patient couldn't survive. This incident teaches an important lesson. When facing a problem, it's crucial to find the root cause and not just rely on experience and habit.